What are the real honest pros and cons of being a DoorDash Dasher right now? Because I feel like you'll hear everything from,
I made $50 an hour, I did like $1,000 this week,
something crazy, to,
this is completely not worth it, they're scamming you, it is not worth it, wearing down your vehicle, you're gonna make no money.
So, as someone who's done DoorDash part-time and full-time in different marketplaces, I've done it since 2018. This is my list of realistic and as neutral as I can here, list of the pros and cons of being a DoorDash Dasher. I think we'll start with the pros first, and then we'll get into the cons here so you can make an informed decision if this is something you even want to do, because this is, we'll start with the pro number one here, one of the largest side hustle and gig platforms you can do with over 7 million earners. So, as a pro, it's an established company, an established side hustle platform with tons of merchants, restaurants, and partners. Being in this relatively new gig economy, you can drive how you want, when you want, and where you want, as long as it's obviously in an active zone in your city. Obviously, you have to follow the terms of service, but you are an independent contractor. For instance, if DoorDash is going to send you a, let's say, shop and deliver, you got to go into a grocery store, shop for so-and-so's order for 30 items, and I don't want to do that for, let's say, $12, you can decline it. Or food delivery restaurant A, say it's like a Wendy's for $4.50 for 2.9 miles. And I know that's a busy Wendy's as well. I'm not going to take it, decline it. You can decline all you want for orders, shop and deliver, convenience, any type of offer that you don't want. You can decline it as much as you want. You cannot, at the time of filming this video, be deactivated just for having a low acceptance rate. Actually, let me check real quick. I'm sitting at a 14% acceptance rate. So I'm only accepting 14% of my prospective offers. The next pro, speaking of that grocery, the food delivery, now more so than ever, there's more ways for you to earn, and actually more earnings types, I should say, more ways to earn than ever. There is, yes, the food delivery. So go to a restaurant, you pick it up, you make your delivery. You go to a grocery store on the shop and deliver. Maybe you like shop and deliver, like Instacart or Shipt. I'm going to shop for that customer's grocery order, and then I check out using my prepaid red card, and then I deliver. But there's also a newer package return. I go to the pickup location, take their package, take it back to FedEx, USPS, or UPS. There's alcohol deliveries. There's convenience-based deliveries. There's retail deliveries, so actual stores. But the convenience, it can be a CVS or Walgreens or the in-house Dash Mart convenience centers. There's also the large order catering program. And think about who's doing catering runs. So it's a party and events or like a business lunch. So those, what's called a basket size, that basket size is going to be larger. Think about what you order on food delivery, right? How much are you spending? Like $15, $18, whatever it's going to be. Maybe more if you're doing like sushi or something. But let's say it's like $50, $60 max or whatever it is for your orders. These are like $100, $500 plus basket sizes. So if I'm getting a tip on a catering run, that can be pretty good. And now possibly expanding to more marketplaces, there's even routed deliveries. So if I don't want to do, well, I don't know what's coming in. I'm going to get an offer, accept or decline. I get another offer. I just want to be set for a couple of hours. Then there's DashLink. So for DashLink, I'm going to go to a designated pickup warehouse for DoorDash, and I get an assigned route. This is pretty much exactly like Amazon Flex. I can get tips. I keep 100% of tips like any gig app as an independent contractor. I can get bonus pay. There's also different types of bonus pay as well. So that sounds good. There's a lot of flexibility and earnings potential. And yes, you can earn up to $20, $30 plus an hour if it's busy enough, if there's a combination of luck. But what if there's not luck? What if things don't go well? Let's get into the negative. One con that I think we forget about with DoorDash specifically, and this is specific, not Uber Eats, not Grubhub, because they behave differently. It's my zone, your like city, right? It's broken down into different sub marketplaces. Why does that really matter? Because you can drive and work in any one of those sub marketplaces. So here's my big marketplace and it's broken down into different zones. That's good, but it can also be a negative because if you happen to get carried into a different zone, you're not gonna get offers. Now, sure, you can get some offers being outside of that zone, but DoorDash really wants you to come back into that original scheduled zone. Now, they'll sometimes, depending on how busy it is, give you the option to switch zones. So it'll say, hey, you're outside of the zone. Do you want to switch zones? But you can't always switch zones. You have to be given the option, or if you try to manually do it, as far as ending your dash is just like your shift basically. You end your dash and then you try to go back online in that new sub marketplace. If that zone is in red basically, which is the Dash Now feature, which is the feature that allows you to go online. If that's not there, then you can't go online. Then you got to make a decision. Do I got to wait in this new sub marketplace or drive back into my other zone? This next one might be the biggest negative doing DoorDash as a Dasher because it relates directly to your pay. So I'm getting these offers, right? Grocery, retail, convenience, food delivery, whatever it is. But the highest paying offers, literally the highest paying offers, are now behind a rewards program called Dasher Rewards. That's fine. How do I get into it? It is largely acceptance rate based. So remember I showed you that like 14% acceptance rate, which actually just increased from like 9% I was sitting at. I need at least 50% to get into tier 1, which is silver, and then even higher 70% acceptance rate to get into higher tiers. So at the very minimum, you have to accept 50% of prospective offers. And believe me, I've tried, I've done the math on it. I'll leave some resources linked down below on how that went for me. So you can still get those high paying offers, but priority goes to tier 1 silver, tier 2 gold, and tier 3 platinum with the highest paying. So if those dashers are online in the zone as well and available for an offer, they're going to get preference before you. I say it's possibly not worth it, but let's get into our next con here. And by the way, if you're getting value so far, can you drop a like on this video? Consider subscribing. All I do is help you make money in different side hustles here. A con with DoorDash, but really it's a con with any gig app really in the side hustle gig economy here, is they're not withholding taxes. I just want you to know that. For anyone new, especially, the money that you're making that's deposited into your account isn't exactly your true take-home money. So if I make $500 in a week, by the way, what's your kind of average hours and then earnings per week here? But if I'm making $500, I didn't actually make $500. It's kind of more like $500 less 30%. Give or take, we have self-employment tax, we have state tax, we have federal tax. That self-employment tax is going to be more, and all of that self-employment, federal, state, it's not withheld. So please set aside at least 20% to 30% of what we call gross revenue. It's not your true net profit. Your gross revenue that you get from these apps, save it please for taxes. And then speaking again, largely about DoorDash, we talked about it being like one of the largest side hustle platforms. That is also a con, more competition. A lot of people, I feel like they're choosing Uber or Uber Eats or DoorDash as their first kind of gig economy app. It's just the fact that you're going to be wearing down your personal vehicle. There's different ways around it. You can get a rental if allowed to use it on these respective apps, but then there's a cost with that. Yes, it's a business expense as it's related to your business. You're going to have to run the numbers on that. There's also different at-home or e-commerce based side hustles where you don't have to use a vehicle. There's that as well. But we're talking DoorDash here. So at least at the time of filming this, for example, the IRS standard optional mileage deduction here in the US is 67 cents per business mile. So that is a summation of how much does it cost to operate a vehicle for business. So that is exactly why I want you to have at least $1.75 paid up per mile. Right now we can see if I'm getting paid $1.75 and generally the cost is 67 cents, you can also itemize those deductions, talk to your CPA or tax professional. But if I'm going to use that optional standard mileage deduction, then I need to have some margin to actually make a profit. And then again, remember taxes. Is that better for me to have the freedom, but use my vehicle, have those earnings options, the different earnings types we talked about? Or do you just want to look at a second, let's say, W-2 regular job? That's obviously assuming you already have a W-2 job, let's say. Think about that. A second job, I'd be scheduled. I might have to wear a uniform. I might have to go into a store or a restaurant, but then my taxes are handled for me, and I do have the predictability of a schedule. Versus what this is, like gig work, 1099, I'm not mandated to wear a uniform. I don't have an office, but then I incur expenses there on my, in this case, personal vehicle, and then taxes are not handled for me. I'll say that being a busier, larger platform, you should ideally stay busier than, let's say, a smaller, local, even regional side hustle gig app. A lot of the times you can get activated on those, and that's all I cover here on the channel, all these gig apps. And then sometimes when you get activated, you can't get even a request because they're not that popular. Versus, let's say, Uber, Lyft, Grubhub, DoorDash, all these larger apps, you'll stay busier. So if you're out there, potentially you're not wasting your time just even waiting for a request. But that's not it though. Let's see what some side hustlers like you said. Pros: making your own schedule, being able to bring a kiddo or friend along in the car. That's a fantastic point. And I've done this on DoorDash. My girlfriend and I have done shifts. It's really fun. I've sat in on my friends' shifts to see how it is for them, giving them tips. People can rate you poorly without paying you a penny for your time, or when they have porch lights and don't turn it on, or give any warning of a missing step on the stairs leading to their deck while delivering in the dark, causing you to become injured. But even the first part, getting rated poorly. Now, most all of these platforms do have ratings protections. So if there's something out of your control, weather, even restaurant delays, that's out of your control, traffic, construction, all that stuff, if they rate you poorly because of that, and they indicate that on their reason why, like took forever at the restaurant, then typically these apps aren't going to count that rating. Pros of being your own boss, cons and not making your money goals. I'll tell you this, since doing gig work since 2015, if you're not hitting your income goals on, let's say, DoorDash, please don't just do DoorDash. Your marketplace, for whatever reason, might use Uber Eats, Grubhub, something else more. So I would start with one app, get used to it, because you got to know the screens, like where stuff is and the buttons and all that. Get used to it, and then just multi-app. Drive on different apps in the same niche. And then once you're comfortable with that, explore other niches, grocery, ride share, whatever else that you're interested in. Well, what about being able to block any customer that we don't want to deal with? So if a customer, let's say, messages you and they say, hey, where the heck are you at? I've been waiting 20 minutes. I actually got yelled at by a customer when I was back in San Diego because I delivered the other customer's order first. Because you'll have what's called like a stacked order, I call it, 2 or more assignments for one driver. And I told the customer, the app tells us the order to deliver it in. Now you can change that. You can do it manually if you want. So now DoorDash does have a feature where if they at least message you, this isn't necessarily in person, but of course you can report to support. It'll probably be the same thing here. But in Messenger, because they can send you messages, if they say something rude like that, then yes, you can block them. But that's just a few thoughts from fellow Dashers. What are the pros and cons of being a DoorDash Dasher right now? Can you hit your income goals? Is there too much competition? Do you like having the different earnings options? What's coming in 2025 and beyond? And ultimately, where's the scale go? Is it worth it? Are there more pros or are there more cons?